Bwaaa!
Bwaaa trash fight all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas. The trailer park is nice and dark, deep in the heart of Texas. That drinks his brew and he spits his chew, deep in the heart of Texas. The TV blares, but no one cares, deep in the heart of Texas. Here we go!
Hey there, welcome back to Bwaaa, King of the Hill Rewatch Podcast. I am Mike.
And I'm Rusty.
Rusty, we have Season 2, Episode 3, The Arrowhead.
The Arrowhead.
Yes, sir. This one, you were telling me that there's several Indian tribes that are mentioned in this.
Yeah, so he mentions the Caddo Indians a lot, and of course, if you live in Central Texas, a lot of the there's Caddo Mills, Texas. There's Caddo Lake. There's a lot of
references to
Caddo Indians, and actually the Waco or the Waco Huaco was, I think, is how it was how it was spelled, was actually Caddo, so they were a part of Caddo and the Wichita people and stuff like that. So whenever the white man pushed them out of Waco, they all went to Oklahoma to the reservation there, and that's where the existing Wacoans reside. Is there on the reserve.
Well, there you go. Everybody out there got a history lesson. Let's open this with Hank beaming from ear to ear about his new John Deere
Rototiller,
8R walk-behind tiller.
And it's a nice-looking tiller. I've done some tilling in my day, and I've never had one that nice to till with.
Yeah, it's a brand-new tiller, and Dale is showing it off to his son Joseph, talking about how it's a 5-horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine, 16 heat-resistant tines, 13-inch super lug tires, and if I'm not mistaken, the model comes with a hat.
Oh, yeah. And then he asked for the hat.
Yes, if he can just have the hat. Yeah.
And then you see, I think maybe for the first time we see him with, this is like the first without a hat scene, maybe. And then you see his shine. You see the little bling.
That's true. Yeah.
Shine off his bald head.
So Hank is real concerned. He wants Bobby to see the new tiller, and so he yells to him. And Bobby is inside with his mom, and she is introducing him to PBS. And,
yeah, this is funny to me.
Trying to get some culture in him. Yeah.
Well, as kids in Texas go, the only place that you got any British television or any anything different than what was American broadcasting.
Yeah.
PBS was it.
Oh yeah.
Viewers like her.
Like
Peggy.
Yeah, and so Hank comes in and he says, "Bobby, come and meet our new rototiller," like it's a sentient being.
Yeah, like a sentient being or something.
Yeah, but Bobby is trying real hard to get this British humor. He thinks it's funny that a man's wearing a dress, but you can tell he's really forcing it. He doesn't really understand why it's so funny. They do say the TV is like, oh posh, I have a run my stocking. So it sounded like what was that show? Yes, Prime Minister. I think that was the show.
Yes, Prime Minister.
Yeah,
I think so. I think that's what it was. Yeah.
So we see back outside that Hank and Boomhauer is now videotaping the starting of the rototiller. And the rototiller hits what they think is a rock and busts the blade. First time out the gate.
Well, if your blade breaks that fast on a brand new piece of equipment, I don't know if the rock's the problem. I think it's the equipment.
I think it may be the equipment, yeah.
I've seen some rocky yards get rototilled up pretty good easy by some old tillers.
So Hank comes in. He's pretty pissed off at this point, talking about how Made America cannot be a gimmick, just like Dolphin Safe.
Yeah.
It's got to stand for something.
It's got to stand for something.
But he tells Bobby about the rock busting up his rototiller. And when he holds it up, Peggy is taken aback. She says, that's no rock, it's an arrowhead, an Indian arrowhead.
Well, and she only knows this because she led a field trip to the Museum of Texas Cultures one time.
That's right. That's right. A little girl swallowed one like that by mistake. She thought it was a rock too.
Yeah.
I love that. It's just I love those kind of little comments like that where it's just an aside. It doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything at all.
It's just a little joke.
Yeah.
So Bobby
like this joke right here too. Yeah.
Bobby pipes up and says, we don't call them Indians anymore. We learned that in school. You call them Native Americans, just like saying same-sex partner instead of and boom. Boy,
yeah, they shut him down quick. Well, it's kind of funny here. Well, not funny, but it's kind of interesting. We've discussed it before, how forward-thinking a lot of these topics are on this show, and the fact that you get a same-sex and a Native American. The political correctness references right here in this early episode for as far as the seasons go. It's still 1997 at this point, I believe.
This is September 1997. And so Hank has now found another piece. It looks kind of like a handle. It's got a hole in the middle of it. It looks like it's being made out of bone or something like that. He is hanging it from the rope on his garage door opener.
Yep.
And using it as that. And the kids come up and ask him what it is. He tells them that he doesn't know much about Indians, but he does know tools. And this looks like one of those things that you jam in the back of a white man's skull, and then the blood comes pouring out of
the hole here.
The hole, yeah.
Which is funny because every reference they make of any kind of Indian tool that's not the archaeologist guy or whatever, it's always something extremely violent, like finger bones.
Yeah, that's right. So Bobby's confused because he thinks that the Indians that lived around there were peaceful. And I love this from Hank where he says he's going to get to the bottom of it because he hates to use a tool improperly. Not that he doesn't know what it is or anything.
He just doesn't want to use it wrong.
That's right. Doesn't want to use a tool incorrectly.
That's funny.
So he goes over to Dale's house, knocks on the door. Nancy answers in a towel. And tells him that Dale's at work, and of course
he has to uncomfortably ask for John Redcorn here. Well,
shuffle your feet, roll your eyes, kind of thing.
Kind of looking for the dude you're in there banging that's not your husband.
She thinks about it for a second. She said, "John Redcorn, it's for you."
It's one of the first times that you kind of see embarrassment on her face about John Redcorn. She looks super.
She just realized, oh crap, Hank knows.
Yeah.
And so here comes John Redcorn. He is explaining to Hank.
Every time he pops up, he explains it. Oh, she's just having a therapeutic
massage for her migraines.
Yeah, it's the migraines.
Migraines have been going on for quite a while.
Yeah, she's got one hell of a headache.
She has a hell of a headache. But he explains to John Redcorn how he found this tool in his yard. He was wondering if he knew what it was. John Redcorn says that it's something way less violent. It is a
straightening tool.
Straightening, straighten the shaft of an arrow.
It's funny how Hank gets through that conversation where he says, I found this native Indian tool. He says native Indian thing in my yard.
So John Redcorn tells him what it is. And Hank still can't give up on this whole shoving it into the brainstem of somebody.
Well, another thing, too, real quick, that whenever John Redcorn is talking about things being sacred, the atmosphere kind of changed. You can see the wind kind of blow through his hair and stuff like that. It
you hear the pan flute in the background.
In the back,
that kind of thing. Yeah. And he says, well, you sure you can't you couldn't jam it into the back of somebody's skull? And he goes, well, sure, I guess. I mean, you can do that with any tool.
Yeah, you can do that with, a DeWalt drill right to the skull.
Yeah. And so he asked him how much he thinks it's worth. And John Redcorn tells him that, those kind of things are sacred. He really needs to think twice before he tries to sell it to somebody, but he could probably get $50.
Yeah. I've done some digging around before, Mike.
Yeah.
I did paleontology, though, not archaeology.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I brought a dinosaur bone back from Utah. And then we had BLM police knocking on my parents' front door. And, it's against the law, apparently.
Oh, wow,
so,
really?
Yeah, I had to go through a whole probation and almost got a felony out of it and everything.
For a dinosaur bone.
For a dinosaur bone.
Wow,
yeah,
that's
science matters.
amazing.
Yeah, science matters.
So Hank's going to take it over to the university and find an archaeology professor so that he can figure out what this thing is worth. Maybe sell it to a museum.
Yeah, and then it's real funny when he gets to the college because like they're playing like ska. It's like a ska band or something.
Yeah, it's like ska
and
music. Everybody's out there throwing frisbees and
hacky
stuff,
sacks.
yeah.
Like nobody's in class or anything.
The guy
and then,
comes up and asks Hank to sign a petition to
for
legalize hemp.
And it's funny how he sells it because this. Well, I mean, it's true, and that should be one of the major selling points for it for sure. But he goes, it's a cheap and durable source of fiber that can be used for making clothing, rope, and paper. Typical government overregulation. Why wouldn't they legalize this stuff? And the guy's all giggling,
kind of sheepishly,
because it's marijuana.
Oh, Hank freaks out and throws the board down.
Yeah, Bwaaa. It's a Bwaaa moment. We should start counting the Bwaaa moments.
So
there's like 3 of them in this episode.
there's
a lot
3.
of Bwaas in this. Yeah.
So we go to the professor standing in front of his class, and he's talking about the volcano erupting and making jokes about people encased in lava, which is kind of
crazy.
It's kind of the first sign that this guy's a dirtbag.
Yeah, for sure.
This guy is played by Maurice LaMarche. He is from Canada. He is a professional voice actor. I thought it was somebody else, and so I looked this guy up on IMDb. This guy, you talk about a prolific voice actor. Futurama, Pinky and the Brain, Simpsons, Futurama twice I wrote down, Rick and Morty, American Dad, SpongeBob, Powerpuff Girls, Frozen. That's just a short amount of stuff that he's been in.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I didn't look him up. I thought he was, see, that was good. That's good on you for that. It's usually me digging up that stuff. Yeah. Well, I thought he was just a regular voice actor because I didn't recognize his voice from anything. Usually I'll recognize a voice and I'm like, well, I know that's an actor and I just can't remember their name or something. It might,
There's a certain like silver-haired actor that I thought that's who that was, but it was not. It is Maurice LaMarche, again from Canada. He's been in. If you've watched a cartoon, probably in the last 20 years, he's probably been in it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So here is Hank trying to get into this classroom after they're letting out. He runs into several students who are idealizing one cause or another. One girl comes out and he looks at the shirt, and it's like a very feminist thing on the front of her shirt.
Oh yeah,
and she yells at him and says, "They're breasts, big deal."
Yeah, they're breasts,
which doesn't really faze Hank. He's just like whatever. Yeah. And so he goes in and he introduces himself to the professor. And tells him how he left a voicemail. It said to press pound, but he did, and then the guy interrupts him. Again, you can tell from the get-go that this guy's just a jerk.
Yeah, and I think that's what they're trying to do is make this academic guy seem more intelligent than the natives, the local native Texans. And so he tries to, I guess, condescending.
He's very condescending.
Really, really condescending. Yes. Hoity-toity.
So Hank tells him that he's got an arrowhead and a straightener, and ask him what he thinks they're worth. The guy says, "Oh, arrowhead, that's worth nothing. It's garbage. Here, I'll throw it away."
Yeah, he's probably
that's pretty ballsy right there.
He's probably one of those Dallas debutantes.
Yeah, he is a Dallas debutante.
Lock your doors.
And then he talks about the straightener. He says, they might have traded this for a new loincloth, and I love this interaction right here. He might have traded it for a loincloth, and he goes, "What's a crotch-sized piece of leather go for these days?" Hank goes, "I certainly do not know." So he ends up giving him $10 for it because he tells him the Native Americans thought everything was sacred: the sun, the dirt, the air you're breathing. By the way, you owe me for that.
Yeah, just being a jackass.
Yeah, and so Hank's just like, okay, you know what? I'll take the $10. And so he takes it,
and then he says, "Count it. It's all there." Like a jackass. Like you can't count $10.
Yeah, like he gave it to him in quarters or something. And so you see Hank leave, and then this professor starts digging in the trash to get all that stuff out, puts it in a bag because it is worth something.
It's worth something.
Yeah. And so now we're back at the Hank Hill house, and Peggy is irate because Hank sold the stuff for $10. She says it belongs to both of us. This house belongs to both of us. And he said, he a little bit of a callback. He goes, I got $10 for something Bobby probably would have just swallowed anyway.
Yeah, which Bobby's like 11 or 12.
Yeah,
why would he
12.
be swallowing arrowheads? I don't know.
Kid's eating rocks, apparently. Peggy says, those objects were cultural. They could have expanded Bobby's mind. And then I, for one, want my son's brain to swell up as big as it'll go.
Yeah, she wants him to have encephaly.
Yeah, encephalitis or whatever it is. Yeah. Next thing we see is Hank's walking into the kitchen. It's the next morning, and he's taken back by Bobby and Luann sitting there eating fried chicken,
a bucket of chicken
for breakfast. I don't know where I guess it's leftover fried chicken.
I would hope it's leftover fried chicken. I don't know of any fried chicken place that's open before at least 10 a.m.
No.
So if it's 6 a.m. here, usually in the morning time, they always reference 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And the boy ain't right. So he's eating chicken at 6 a.m.
So Luann tells him, no, we're not eating chicken for breakfast, which they are. We're making bones for Bobby's social
studies project. Yeah.
And then Bobby goes on to tell his dad that it is a Native American necklace like the Tonkawa wore. I was going to bring in an arrowhead and get an A and maybe even go to college, but Mom says you sold out my future for $10. I hope you're happy.
Yeah, which
That's
if you're from Texas, like the area that we're from, there's a lot of creeks that are named after all of these tribes that were here. Tonka was one of them. There was Tawakoni, that's another one.
Right.
There's tons of these little creeks and stuff that come off the Brazos, which the Brazos means the arms of God.
Uh-huh.
So I guess these are all the fingers of God, all these little tributaries and stuff.
Yeah. And it is Brazos, it's not Brazos.
Yeah, it's not Brazos. It's Brazos.
You hear that a lot. So Bobby is just kind of regurgitating what Peggy told him to tell Hank. Peggy is leaving, and she opens the door, and there is the professor and a couple other guys.
Right there at the front door.
I'm sorry, gentlemen.
We're not in the market for new religion.
Yeah,
they look like they could be trying to proselytize to you.
Yeah. So he introduces himself as Professor John Lerner, Ph.D. He has to put that Ph.D.
Yeah, he's got to put it on there.
And
most PhDs that I've met, not all, but but most of them that
Yes.
I've met have been pretentious assholes because of the fact that they have a PhD, which means the only thing that a PhD means to me is that you know a lot about one thing.
Right.
You might not, like, people assume that, PhD, they got to be these extremely intelligent people about all things.
Either that or they just love
I've met some
school.
that have zero common sense whatsoever.
Well, it's
they could
because
barely
you had
tie their own shoes.
You had to stay in school for so long, you've got no life experience to go with it.
None. Yeah.
Peggy, of course, picks up on this, and she goes, "Oh, I'm a teacher too, substitute Spanish."
Yeah, it's totally relatable to a PhD archaeologist professor.
Right, that's right.
A tenured professor, yeah.
So he explains that how Hank came to him with the Caddo arrowhead, and she pipes up again. I am the one who determined it was not a rock.
Yeah.
So he goes on to talk about how she's a friend of archaeology, and he's trying to get her on his side now so that he can take advantage of her as well. And he says, we want to dig out here, we want to poke around, but the stupid government, you got to sign all these papers. And she goes, "Oh, don't be silly, let me sign those." And she just signs it right away.
Not even thinking about it. She didn't even read the damn thing.
No, she doesn't think about it at all. And then as they're walking away, the professor and the guy he brought with him, he says, you got to make them all feel special. I could have gotten the title to her house if I complimented her stupid glasses. Once again, setting up this character as a total a-hole.
Yeah, for sure. He's not very friendly.
Yeah, so Hank asks Peggy, what that was about. She said, "Nothing, Professor. My friend."
She adds that in there, my friend.
It's been like 30 seconds. He's my friend. He wanted to know if we could poke around the lawn for some artifacts. I, of course, said yes. And now Hank is on the other side. He's pissed off because she's going to be, she let the guy start digging in his yard, and we know how much his yard means to him.
Oh, it means everything to him, yeah. I mean, we had that episode with the ants, and it just destroyed him.
But then she's back and saying, you sold that arrowhead without me, and now we're even, and all this stuff. He tells Peggy that you owe me and my lawn an apology.
Yeah, and he just stands there, and then she's like getting ready to drive off, and she's like, "We're waiting." Yeah. And she just walks to the car, gets in, and drives off. Yeah. And while she's gone, he's just screaming into the ether, "Peggy, you can't just think it; you got to say it out loud."
That's right. Yeah, and so the next thing we see, it's nighttime, and Hank and Peggy are in bed. They hear a loud noise outside, and Peggy's like, Hank, I thought you told Dale not to mow at this hour, which I'm assuming Dale has been mowing in the middle of the night, and Hank is asking him not to do that. Hank, with his keen ear for machinery, realizes that
it's not a mower. Yeah, a mower is a distinct sound over a backhoe.
And he looks out the window, and there they are.
And we get a Bwaaa.
Oh, the bulldozer.
And then he's still he fogs up the window, and he's like Bwaaa. And he's sitting there clearing the window so he can keep seeing. It's a really long Bwaaa.
It's a very long Bwaaa. Yeah. And that takes us to a commercial break. So let's take a small break, and we'll be right back. It is summertime here in Central Texas, and I don't know about you, but I am already sweating.
Oh, yeah. I've got swamp ass and ball sweat more than I know what to do with. And, you know, if it wasn't for Ballsy and their products, I'm sure right now I'd be able to smell my own balls. So I'm really, thankful for their products.
Yeah, you know, your cleanliness is a reflection of you, especially below the belt. And, you know, I think about cleanliness a lot because, like, I've got a beard. I've had one for a long time. You've got one. But I never really think about taking care of my down under as I do my face.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't think that a lot of people, think about keeping their balls clean and fresh.
No.
I think that's an endemic in males is keeping our groin area clean.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's no secret that balls are prone to odor, sweat, irritation. So you need something like Ballsy.
Yeah, so guys, you need to upgrade your balls game with Ballsy. Yep. They've got quality, long-lasting products formulated to keep you fresh, comfortable, and confident. And for me, I tried out the Ballsy trimmer, the beard trimmer part of it. I shaved my mustache with it.
That's the cool thing. It comes with both heads.
It comes with both heads.
So it's not like you have to use the same head on your face as you do your intimate regions.
Yeah, your intimate regions.
Yeah.
So they got your sack covered with a ball wash, sack spray, and more. And I'll attest to the ball wash. My balls have never smelled cleaner and felt fresher ever in the entirety of my life. So
yeah, I took a small sample of friends and family, and they said my balls smelled wonderful.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's good. My dog told me.
It was uncomfortable after that.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah.
So, when you go to Ballsy, you can get different things like you can take a quiz to see where to start. They have a sack pack. The sack pack has all of it. It's the trifecta. It is the ultimate trifecta of products, specially formulated to take care of your most prized possessions, which should be your balls.
And the big thing is it is made right here in the U.S. of A.
In the U.S. of A. That's right. And it always will be.
Always will be.
Or so tell the people at Ballsy.
Or so says Ballsy.
So
and
says
they
Ballsy.
have over 200,000 currently satisfied customers with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you've got to give it a try. Yeah. There's no risks involved. Yeah. And the only thing that could happen out of this is clean, fresh balls.
That's what I'm saying, right? So what you need to do is go to ballwash.com, put in promo code KOTH, as in King of the Hill. So ballwash.com, promo code KOTH, and you'll receive 20% off your order of $50 or more. That's 20% off when you go to ballwash.com and put in promo code KOTH. So says Ballsy.
Balls.
Hey, Rusty.
Hey, Mike.
Your dog deserves tasty, healthy, real food, not kibble. Don't give him kibble.
No, I like to give my dog food that's created by a vet that exceeds all industry standards.
There you
Fresh
go.
Dog food, stable life. A stable shelf life and affordable. This food here, Sundays for Dogs, Mike. It's
Sundays for Dogs.
It's 40% less expensive than leading fresh brands.
Yeah, and it's like you say, it's created by a vet. It's shelf stable, which I don't get those dog foods that are in the freezer and refrigerator and stuff. That just seems like a lot. I've got a friend of mine who makes his own cat food, which is weird. But
it's especially weird when you could get it from Sundays for Dogs.
That's what I'm saying, right? I mean, he's got cats, so he's weird anyway. But
he could feed it Sundays for Dogs.
Feed his cats to Sundays for Dogs?
It's created by a vet. It's fresh dog food. It's customized for dog size, breed, and activity level. So all he has to do is take a quick quiz and see if it's right for his pup.
Yeah, you just go to sundaysfordogs.com. You take the quiz. Best part about all this, well, let me tell you about some of the benefits first. You're going to get increased excitement from your dog about eating, which my dogs are not super excited about eating because I buy them junk, but not anymore. You'll get better stool, which, you know, if your dogs stay outside all day, that's a big deal. You'll get more energy out of your dogs, improve weight, softer coat, just a better life for your dogs if you feed them this
my
stuff.
dog loves it. It's real easy for her to eat. She's an older dog, but it's really easy for her to eat. And
she's 104.
She's 104, yes. Right. And the fact
not
that
in
it's
dog years,
not in dog years, in human years. Yeah, she's extremely old, and I think it's due to eating Sundays for dogs.
Sure.
Which the quality ingredients are really good for her health. The crap they put in, you know, a lot of the store brand stuff is just junk for them. Yeah. And a lot of filler and stuff like that.
It's like feeding your kid Doritos all day.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like a bag of Doritos.
That kid's going to stop up at some point.
And Sundays for dogs is like a bag of carrots with...
It is. It's like carrots and real meat and things
just
like
good
that.
Stuff.
Yeah. You know, if you go to sundaysfordogs.com and take that quiz and figure out the right plan for your pup, the best part about that is you can get 35% off your first order if you use the code KOTH, as in King of the Hill, KOTH, and you'll get 35% off your order.
Wow, 35%.
That's a big deal.
That
you know,
deal.
most of these things you hear is 10%, but for this one, you go to sundaysfordogs.com, enter KOTH as the code, and get 35% off.
Yeah, that's great.
Woof.
Bwaaa tries to fight all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas.
All right, Rusty, we are back. We are at the point where they are digging up Hank's yard.
Yeah, so this is my favorite scene here. So you see Boomhauer with a piece of paper in his hand, which is the contract that Peggy signed without reading.
Yeah,
so
Hank
he
for
goes,
some reason went to Boomhauer for legal information.
Which is kind of funny because, I mean, as we all know, at the final episode of the entire show, we find out that he has a badge.
That's
so
right.
it's kind of, you know, you don't really think about it until you've seen it all in its entirety. But here we go. So he says, after the referred to aforementioned antiquities pursuant to the public domain Title IX of the State Resource Code, I tell you what, man, it's airtight.
Hank is like, I didn't understand a word you said, Boomhauer. Damn legalese.
Yeah, he understood it, but he didn't understand it. Yeah, he knew what he was saying, but he didn't know what he was saying. Yeah. Which is always funny because everybody, it was kind of like that one scene with the crane, the whooping crane, and he tells the whole story to that cop, and he goes, "Well, okay," he didn't understand a word he said.
So Hank is. Again,
this is funny.
Damn legalese. And then he says, I never thought I'd see the day when my own government would go around stealing other people's land. That's all the freaking
That's all the government does. And then you see, this is kind of funny here because you look at Bill's face and Bill looks all disappointed. And he said, think about it, Hank. Isn't that what happened to the people who lived here before us?
Yeah.
And he's like slowly like drinking his beer and then he's done, and he just walks off the camera.
I don't know if you remember, but in the late 70s, early 80s, there was a commercial on TV with the Indian that looked at all the litter on the side of the roads, and he looked at the camera, and he would have one single tear coming down his...
No, that's not a commercial I've seen.
Yeah, so that's what this is echoing, is that commercial.
That commercial.
Yeah, because he has the one little tear, and then he takes the can, just crumples it up, and throws it on the ground.
Yeah, yeah, throws it in the hole.
Yeah, Hank gets pretty riled up at this point because they're tearing out his hedges. I mean, it's one thing if you got to dig in the ground for arrowheads, but start tearing out my hedges?
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a lot.
Well, that's the thing is like you just mentioned, he threw the beer can down. All archaeology is like cleaning up old, really old litter.
Yeah.
So if we didn't litter,
really
we would be putting an archaeologist out of a job 1,000 years from now.
That's right. 1,000 years from now, they're going to find Bill's beer can.
Don't mess with Texas, but please leave something for somebody else to find 1,000 years from now.
So when they pull up this hedge, Hank is concerned because that is his privacy hedge. And we find out that is covering I don't know why he doesn't have shades or something, but it's covering the window in the bathroom.
Or a fogged glass or something, like scratched glass.
Because there's old Luann shaving her legs, and she goes, hey, Uncle Hank, I hope you don't mind I borrowed your razor.
And if you look at the razor, too, I don't know why I noticed this, but it's one of the older safety razors.
Oh, yeah?
So it's like one of the metal safety razors where you put the blade in.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of funny from Hank.
I always thought that was so ironic they called it a safety razor.
A safety razor when it was extremely dangerous. Yeah.
So this sets Hank off. He's like, that's it. Everybody off my property. Don't get me to call the cops. And here comes that jackass professor again. He's like, go right ahead. We'll just tell you you're trespassing on a protected archaeological site. Yeah. Easy for me to say. And so Hank says, Hank has reached his limit because he goes, what I'm about to say goes against everything I believe. But you're sued, and you're sued, and you're sued, and you're all witnesses.
It was hilarious. I thought that was funny because
like that's how you sue people. You just go, you're sued.
It's a very Texas cultural thing. There's everybody wants to sue somebody for something, and then there's so many like billboards with law firms.
Yeah. Oh,
like it's got to be like a high percentage of Texas billboards are all law firms.
Hank also kind of gets caught up in it, and he goes, I want all your names, and I don't want any Seymour Butts or IP Freeleys because my wife's a substitute teacher. I know all the tricks.
Yeah, I know all the tricks. I like this part too. So it goes to Peggy watching the guy, the professor, the archaeologist, and he's sitting there just sweeping away at what looks like a pot or a bowl or something, and Peggy's kind of pestering, what do you think it is? Well, I'm not sure yet. Well, I think it's a clay pot. And he's, well, it's more likely a ceramic bowl.
She's like,
you may be right.
You may be right. Yeah. And so he's just like, would you excuse me? And he leaves. And then here comes Hank, and he's like, you would not believe. He's super irate at this point.
Yeah, he's mad. His yard is violated.
Yes.
He can't get anybody off his yard legally because there's legal documents attaching him to his yard.
And now he's pissed off because the professor got dirt all over his compost.
Oh, yeah, you don't want dirt on your compost.
So Heggy. That's Hank and Peggy combined.
Peggy. Yeah.
Peggy is like, oh, no. Come on. The professor's not an idiot. In fact, he's a genius. And that's as far as you can get from idiot without
before reaching
into
madness. Yeah.
So she says, hey, let's invite the professor to dinner. Bobby could learn a lot. Hank is don't turn dinner into school, Peggy. Dinner's one of the few things that Bobby's good at.
And then she agrees with him. She goes, he is good with a fork and knife. I will grant you that.
But she says, he could learn the art of conversation or how to drink without a straw.
And drinking without a straw. So I've been around some. I mean, you too probably. You're an academic.
Yeah.
I've been around some like extremely educated people, and none of them ever acted. I mean, I say none of them, but the ones that I liked never acted like that. So
right. So when the next thing we see, we've got the family dinner, and the professor's sitting there, and he's regaling them with a story of how he knew he was going to be get into archaeology when the King Tut exhibit came to his hometown, and he just stood there and went, I can do better.
Which shows how much of a jackass he is, because the King Tut exhibit is like the reason, like some of that Egyptology is like the reason why archaeology was so quote unquote cool. Without all that Egyptology stuff, like archaeology's not as cool, So the Indiana Jones type shit.
Yeah. Indiana Jones, definitely. And so they talk about his PhD and how it's from the University of Chicago. And
Peggy, he said he saw the King Tut, and then he said 3 years later, I had my PhD. like boom, 3 years PhD.
Peggy talks about the University of Chicago being one of the finest schools in the country, which I've never heard that, but okay, whatever.
They do. It's actually funny we talk about the University of Chicago because University of Chicago was the one, the dig site where I dug up dinosaur bones at illegally. The University of Chicago was the one that sponsored. You pay them to go dig at their particular site. And I went off their site to dig. I didn't dig on their site. We dug out in the middle of nowhere. But you go out there, and it's actually the University of Chicago's site that you dig with. So it's cool that they talk about to make that connection. I don't know if that Chicago I don't know if they have a large archaeology program, but I imagine if they have a dig site in Utah and Chicago's that way, so it's got to be decent.
Sure.
And then he goes here when he said they don't even have a football team, which is a lie because they are NCAA Division III. They're not a D1 school, but they're a Division III school, and pretty decent size as far as D3 goes. They're a pretty decent sized D3 program.
Wow, look at you investigating the University of
Well,
Chicago.
I know a little
team.
bit about college football, not a lot. I only care about football for fantasy football, so you got to keep up with some of the new and upcoming.
Sure,
but I don't really know of anybody that comes from the University of Chicago.
So the guy again flaunting his useless knowledge tells Bobby how the Caddo Indians played a game like football. They called it chunky, only they used sticks and dirt and rolling discs of stone, which is completely different. And so Bobby's like, "Tell me more, Professor. Is that right, Mom?" So she is really probing Bobby and preparing Bobby for all these questions with his dad, with the professor, with everybody. Wants him to look smart.
Yeah, so I actually looked up that chunky or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That is an actual sport that they played, and it was kind of funny though because a lot of it, the translation of the name chunky or chinko or whatever you want to call it, means running hard labor.
Running hard labor.
And they used to have a lot of gambling associated with the game, people wagering everything they owned on the outcome and stuff like that. And some of the losers of the game were even known to commit suicide.
Oh my goodness!
So it was a very serious,
Wow.
very serious sport.
That rarely happens in professional football.
Yeah, but it was native. It was a Native American thing, obviously, but it was the Muskogee, the Chickasaw, the Choctaw,
Sure.
which are all Indians that are Native Americans that were in the Central Texas area.
Peggy says, if they could play chunky with a stone disc, why couldn't they invent the wheel? You can just blow my mind and leave.
Can't just blow my mind and leave. This whole scene right here is kind of fucked up for Peggy.
Yeah, he talks about how maybe Bobby and she could assist the archaeologist in the morning. She gets super excited because anytime Peggy is invited to do anything that even is close to college or teaching or smart, she wants in on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so she's super excited because this is her first dig. And then, of course, here comes the jackass. He's talking about, how he remembers his first dig, and he discovered this Bwaaa bracelet. It's the real. He says that the one he's got on is fake because the real one is very fragile.
It doesn't go well with
his
sweater.
Yeah. And then Bobby still thinking about PBS. He's like, "Ha, that's funny. A man wearing jewelry like on PBS."
Like on PBS, yeah.
So you know that Hank is not a gold chain wearer. So now Peggy again trying to impress the professor. She yells at Bobby, and he tells him how the professor tells Bobby how this bracelet is not jewelry, it's a badge of honor. A young brave would give one to a girl as a symbol of their bond. It means connection, blah, 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 blah. And then Hank is like, oh, yeah, it's kind of like aloha. It means hello and goodbye. And then the professor's like, well, it's actually more, aloha, goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye.
Hank's just getting rid of him.
Yeah.
And so...
well, I had one quick tidbit. So
yeah,
I tried to find a Wahashawa bracelet or anything about it. Well, the only thing that I could find was an Indian treaty between the United States, obviously, the government, and between a tribe of Sioux Indians called the Washawas Band of Sioux Indians. So I guess the chief of that particular band of Indians was called Washawa, but it was called the Washawa Band of Sioux Indians. I don't know what the treaty was about because it's written in it's actually written on a piece of paper, and then they have the screens. You have to zoom in and try to decipher somebody's ancient handwriting. So I never got any further than that with it. But I thought that was neat that they had anything at all about any of this.
Well, you can tell that
stuff.
they've done a little bit of their research here.
Yeah, they did, which is cool because Mike Judge himself is from Ecuador, and Ecuador has a heavy, native population. So
this is not the last time Native American stuff comes up in King of the Hill either. It comes up all the time.
Yeah, it comes up all the time,
Yep.
and this is actually the first episode where the voice actor for John Redcorn switches. So this is the first episode with the second voice actor, Jonathan.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Jonathan Voss. Yeah, this would be his first episode.
So we're at the next morning at the site of the dig, which is literally just Peggy's front yard.
Yeah.
Of course, here's the professor out talking again because he loves the sound of his own voice. Talks about how he wants to say two things. First, thank you to Miss Peggy Hill for organizing this field trip because she's brought in some students. And then secondly, if a bony hand reaches out from the soil and tries to drag you into its grave, remain calm. And you see all these kids just go, and then he goes, like, no, seriously, remain calm.
Remain
and calm. You get it again.
Yeah.
And so he talking to the kids that are here with Peggy, he asks them, can anybody tell me what Indian tribes are native to Arlen? And, of course, Peggy's the only one that raises her hand.
The only one that knows, yeah.
And so she says, could be the Caddo, who were the earliest settlers of the region. And he goes, that's exactly right. And then she's so happy that this intellectual is recognizing her for anything she says.
For anything, yeah. And it's funny how she puts these people on pedestals as well.
Oh, boy. Just immediately.
Immediately.
Next thing we see, it's nighttime. Hank's already in bed. He's watching TV, and it's talking about a high-pressure system coming in. Here comes Peggy into the bedroom, and Hank's like, where you been? You missed action sports and half of action weather. She talks about how her and Bobby have been out in the front yard digging things up all day. And by the way, Bobby now knows his cat didn't run away.
His cat didn't run away.
So she wants to know what she missed. He says, I like this part. He said, another new soccer league, which I thought was funny because we do have a lot of soccer leagues.
A lot of soccer leagues.
And 30% chance of rain. Peggy is very upset because she needs to go tell the professor because he left the top down on his Saab.
On his Saab, yeah. It's a very British vehicle.
Yeah, they end up just going to bed, or Hank does, and then all of a sudden the whole room lights up. And Peggy...
the stadium lights,
yeah. Tells him about stadium lights that the professor's using outside, just like the Cowboys use. Now he can dig at night if he wants to. And Hank is not so sure about that. He says the Cowboys would treasure his lawn, not turn it into some sort of a freak show.
They would treasure it, yeah.
Because you talk about putting people on pedestals. Cowboys are on a pedestal for him.
I'm sure they care about his lawn.
Yeah. And Peggy, again, defending the professor, defending this dig. She's like, it hasn't been all bad, Hank. We may have lost a lawn, but Bobby gained a role model. And
I'm his role model.
It's just the wrong thing to say to Hank because Hank's going to get pissed off about that stuff every time.
Well, it's the wrong thing to say to any man
father
and his son saying, oh, well, you're not good enough to be his role model, so this weird hoity-toity archaeologist could be his role model instead.
He said, I'm his role model, not that bracelet-wearing egghead. And then Peggy's like, I don't see what you have against the professor. Well, I'll benefit for spending more time with him. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go warn him because his Saab has leather seats.
But speaking about role models, it's funny. There was a story I was reading on Reddit about a guy who grew up with no parents and no dad or nothing like that. And he said that as a teenager, he discovered King of the Hill. And he watched King of the Hill. And he said he started to emulate Hank in his life. So he would ask himself, what would Hank do in this situation? And in different, because he said he never had he never had any advice from a father, never had any of these figures in his life. So
I'm a big fan of King of the Hill and of Hank, but I don't know that I would live my life thinking what would Hank do in this situation.
I don't know. There's been some iffy,
things,
questionable things, but I thought that was neat. That
like when we get to the crack episode, that's a little.
Well, I don't know that there was no malintent.
Yeah.
You're just trying to catch a couple good fish.
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, if it works, it works, right?
That's true. Yeah,
bait is bait. Bait is bait.
So now the professor is out there showing them how to brush things away and talking to Peggy, getting really close to her, and she's kind of like giggling and stuff.
Yeah, she got red in the face when he gave her that when he was talking about that bracelet.
So here's Dale, always a fountain of good knowledge. He says, I know what you're thinking, Hank. It's not true. Every once in a while, a guy suspects his wife has a thing for another man. And, of course, we all know, that John Redcorn is screwing his wife.
Yeah.
But he is the last one to know. He tells him, Hank is like, I'm not thinking that at all. I'm thinking about cheese logs.
So very random. Awkwardly talking about cheese logs, yeah.
But Dale goes ahead and tells him how Nancy is going to Corpus Christi this weekend for a migraine.
But he's trying to comfort him.
Migraine workshop.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Whatever. Okay. And
I'm suspicious as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he says, good thing John Redcoin's going with her because he can keep an eye on things.
Yeah. Feel better. Bring me back a shot glass.
Yeah. Next we see Hank. He is in the garage making something. And here comes Bill asking him what he's making. He goes, I'm going to make a problem go away. And so Bill, of course, assumes he's got possums.
Which, actually, possums, fun fact, you're not supposed to kill or harm possums because of the function they perform for the ecosystem. So they eat a lot of the things you don't want.
Possums are a weird animal. I've seen a lot of like mama possums running around with all their babies strapped to them, and their babies fall off all the time.
Yeah.
And they don't go back and get them.
No, that's it.
They're just like, screw it.
Yeah.
Now I got 7.
Survival of the fittest. Yeah, if you're not fit enough to hold on when mom's hauling ass,
man,
you're out of there.
Yeah.
Or maybe she goes back and gets him later.
So Hank tells him how, no, it's about this archaeologist. And Bill's like, you know what works for me? A cap full of arsenic in the side of bacon.
Yeah, that would be murder, Bill.
That'd be murder, Bill.
Yeah, you can't murder the archaeologist.
Yeah. So Hank tells Bill that he's making a fake artifact and he's going to put it out there, and then he's going to discredit this intellectual because he's going to find this thing, think it's a real thing. Bill's like, I just mainly know about possums. So we see the professor out digging, and Hank's kind of standing over the hole. He's like, you find anything? Not yet. You've been here all morning. You turned up something by now. He tells him how archaeology is just patience, and Hank's like, it's a lot about fishing. It's a lot like fishing. If you don't catch something here, you move over to another place. Maybe you should dig over there.
Yeah.
Giving away his whole...
Well, what I think was funny, like when he was making that fake artifact, how he had like all the tools out. He was just looking, and I was kind of disappointed that he didn't create a... something that was realistic. I was thinking he was going to have this badass craftsmanship.
Yeah, basically he just took Bobby's thing and roughed it up.
You know,
a bunch of chicken bones. But he throws it in the hole, and Peggy ends up finding it, and she's like, Professor, come quick, I found something. And Hank is like, no, leave it alone, because she wasn't supposed to find it.
You don't know what you're doing. Yeah, he kind of pisses her off. You don't know what you're doing, and she's like, is that what you think? I'm not sure the professor would agree with you.
Yeah, she thinks that Hank thinks she's stupid.
Which he does think she's stupid.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
Yeah.
But he's not trying to insult her intelligence here. He was just...
But then here comes the professor, right? She's like, Professor, what do you think it is? And he's like, oh, no. Peggy, you tell us what you think it is. Because he's just
manipulating
being
the situation.
Jerk.
Yeah. He personally looked at it and saw what it was. Anybody that's... You could tell bone that has been sitting in the ground for a long time over one that's not.
Right.
So the fact that this bone, having sat there for thousands of years, would have permineralized and turned into essentially a rock. It would have, all of the material would have been replaced, and it would have been just solid as a rock, not soft like a chicken bone.
Yeah, sure. But to go out of his way and make Peggy feel like crap, he
dissects
says,
it for her,
Yeah, he's like, what do you think it is? And she says, oh, it's most likely a Tonkawa warrior necklace made from the finger bones of his enemies.
Yeah, she says she starts counting. I put 2 and 2 together and added a thumb.
Yeah. She said, well, he goes, how did you come to that conclusion? She's like, they're bones. Roughly the size of fingers.
Yeah.
And I just put 2 and 2 together, like you said.
And added a thumb.
Yeah. And then he's like, I just got a crazy idea. Let's find out what it really is.
Which he's a jackass.
Just
That's
being
a jackass.
Yeah, the guy's just a jerk.
And then he hands it to Scott. Looks like a bunch of chicken bones.
It looks like my
Correct.
chicken bone.
Barbara. Scratched up with a belt sander.
Of course. Andrea.
And tied together with kite string.
Bingo. They make it look so easy, don't they? You know their secret? They're archaeologists. And Peggy's like, what? I get it. Archaeologist. I'm such an idiot. It's just so crappy. And people make Peggy feel like that a lot.
Yeah, it's funny. He goes, they're not so smart, Peggy. I didn't use kite string. I used baling twine.
Hank thinks he's got him.
Which, for those of you that don't know what baling twine is the twine that they use to tie bales of hay together.
Here's where we get the real touching part of this episode. Peggy immediately thinks that Hank's trying to make her look stupid.
Peak,
yep,
if you will.
And he's like, I wasn't trying to make you look stupid. You're the only one I respect. I was trying to make him look stupid. And she goes, oh.
And then he's doing this.
Jealous.
And then it's funny when Hank gets sheepish and coy like this. He always like looks down at the ground
at the dirt.
and does that little thing with his foot like a cartoon character. Yeah, like some Some Charlie Brown character or something.
He goes, no, I wasn't jealous. I was just mad because you were spending all your time with that guy and I wanted you to spend it with me. Jealousy had nothing to do with it. That's literally the definition of jealousy.
That's literally what jealousy is. And then she's digging in her eye.
He's kicking at that dirt, and he kicks dirt in her
eye. Yeah. She goes, Hank, I have something. She's like crying. He goes, well, I have something in my eye, but I'm also crying. Yeah.
And so now the jerk ass professor is kind of giggling, and Hank is like, "What are you laughing at?" And he goes, "It's funny. I could have scored with your wife for the price of a fake bracelet." And this is a bridge too far for Hank. He's like, "What?" And so
because there was like the fact that he thought that Peggy would go outside of her and Hank's marriage, which he could have gave her 1,000 bracelets and Peggy would have never have done anything because that's not Peggy.
No,
but
it's not her.
This point right here comes to a point where you see the strong masculine type.
Yep.
And then you've got this asshole, weaker, nerdy guy.
Yeah.
And he just keeps pushing him in.
Hank just pushes him right into the hole.
And he keeps going.
Yeah, and
to
he's
that
like,
same side. There's this huge hole with like 5 sides.
Professor keeps
but
getting
he
up
crawls
on the same place.
straight to where Hank's at. It's like he enjoyed getting pushed in.
He says, you know what? This is funny because you're the one that looks stupid now. You keep pushing me in this hole.
Yeah. And what he says, violence doesn't solve anything. Let's just discuss this. He goes, well, you know what's ironic about this? You're the one who looks stupid now.
Yeah.
So you're stronger than I am.
Himself.
You've proven that.
And so
I'm starting to really enjoy this. I want you to push me in the hole. I'm starting to enjoy this really.
It goes to credits, so it blacks out and it goes to credits, and he goes, I'm starting to enjoy this. Push me again.
And then you hear Bobby.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you hear the guy hit the hole again.
So I guess to wrap it up, the writers of this episode, it's again the duo Jonathan Aibel and Glenn Berger, the Plains. I think they did Kung Fu Panda guys.
Oh, okay.
And then it was directed by the Plains guy. He directed Plains, Klay Hall.
Ah.
So that was the creators of this particular episode, which aired October 19th, 1997.
Oh, it's October.
October.
This is a great episode, and it just shows the bond between Peggy and Hank. Which a lot of these episodes do. It comes down to the fact that they are truly soulmates and in love, and they would never do anything to hurt each other.
There was a low-key reference to The Simpsons as well.
Oh, yeah?
With whenever Hank says, I don't want any Seymour Butts or IP Freelies.
Oh, yeah.
That's two things that that Bart uses when he calls his Moe's Tavern. So it's a little bit of...
So that
trivia.
is the end of season 2, episode 3, the Arrow.
Hey, we're just rolling through.
Man.
Season 2, already
We're
on episode 3. That's great. Now we're rolling through it.
Well, guys, if you want to check us out, go to roguemedianetwork.com. You want to give us the socials?
Yeah, you go to Bwaaa, BWAAAKOTH. That's BWAAAKOTH at Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook.
There you go. Well, guys, until next time, enjoy your life, I guess. I don't know where I was going.
What was
with
the
that.
stinger?
The stinger at the end was I could keep doing this all day. Like at the very end, he's still being pushed in the hole, and somebody's still pushing him, whether it's Hank or Bobby, I don't know. But yeah, it's just the professor going, I can do this all day.
Oh, okay.
All right, guys, join us again next time. Season 2, episode 4 coming up.
Don't forget to buy Sundays for Dogs and Ballsy.
Wimitanye.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.
Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach,
And I'm Mike.
and we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything. And basically, I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros Foes Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Welcome to One Star Rewind, a new podcast about those dreaded one-star reviews that every business owner hates to receive, but yet every customer loves to read. During this podcast, we will peel back that one-star review to better understand how it happened, when it happened, and what the business owner is doing after receiving that one-star review. This podcast will be about love, hate, and laughter. On One Star Rewind, we will meet with real business owners who will tell their stories and how they do rely on reviews for their business. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or download us at roguemedianetwork.com. Please subscribe, but only rate and review for not a one-star review. Join us each time for a new review and a new story.